Okay, so the last video in the queue on my YouTube channel, if you haven't watched it yet, I'd suggest that you go back. It's titled Weekly Plan Sheet. We mapped out how to prioritize your time, how to fit your Mary Kay business in. We did an exercise that would leave even the most involved, overcommitted woman with probably somewhere around 18 hours a week that is undesignated to obligations or work or sleep or food. And so we have already talked about mapping out your obligations, your work, your family time, the things that you want to do, the things that are prioritized in your life to find the little pockets of time that you can work your Mary Kay business. Now I want to talk to you about how to take that information and knowing where you have the time to make your business. Time's not an excuse anymore. Now I'm going to help you figure out how to set your number of party commitments, how much activity, income producing activity you need to be doing weekly for your Mary Kay business to reach the goals that you have based on knowing what time you have available. Okay, so we've mapped out your schedule, and not every one of those unused hours maybe necessarily needs to go towards your Mary Kay business. Okay, but we're going to figure that out right now. Okay, so I want to, at the end of this video, you to be able to definitively know how many parties are standing between where I'm at right now and where I want to be. Okay, I want you to know how many parties it's going to take. And I want you to take that weekly plan sheet that you've already mapped out and figure out, okay, if I have to hold 3 parties, or if I have to hold 62 parties to meet the goal that I want to take my family to Disney World, if I have to hold 62 parties and I have the time to do 3 a week, if I did 62 parties, knowing I could do 3 a week, how many weeks is it going to take me to finish that goal of going to Disney World? Because if you do not have a financial goal set, it is very easy to allow yourself off the hook. If you have a financial goal set, and even more so if you have a financial goal set that your family knows about, it's not as easy to let yourself off the hook. You will take that information that you just figured out, you will plug in the parties, you will get on the phone, you will book, you will schedule money-making activity so that you can hit that goal. Okay, so I want you to leave this video knowing how many parties it's going to take for you to hit your goals and how many weeks that should be then, right? And we're going to do something that I call working backwards. So first and foremost, you need to set the goal. And I want you to dream big here, you guys. Dream big. Maybe it's to have so much money in savings. Maybe it's to pay off debt. Maybe it's to buy a boat. Maybe it's to pay for a vacation. Maybe it's to quit a job. Maybe it is to put braces on my kids' teeth. Whatever it is, I want you to set that goal. I want you to think about what that goal is, and I want you to write it down. I want you to write it down. Take a little pen and paper right here, and I want you to write it down, okay? Now, once that goal is set, I want you to figure out how much that goal is going to cost. So some examples might be, if you need $10,000 for a family vacation to Disney World, okay, then that goal is going to cost you $10,000. If you are trying to replace a $50,000 a year job, then the goal is $50,000. The goal is $50,000. Does that make sense? So you're going to take that number. For today's exercise, we're going to use $10,000 just for number's sake because it's easy to translate on screen. We're going to say, excuse me, that the goal that you have is $10,000 profit from your Mary Kay business so that you can pay for a family vacation, okay? So I'm going to, at the top of my sheet, write $10,000. Okay, can you guys see that? And then right next to it, I'm going to write 20,000. Why am I doing that? Well, because to profit $10,000, you've got to sell 20,000. Okay. Now, a lot of people and a lot of older Mary Kay teachings, correct, but older, would tell you to split your money not 50-50, but to split it 40-60. Split it 40-60. And that's because that extra 10%, you're going to take a 40% profit and then a 60% to replace product as well as business expenses, shipping, cotton balls, section 2, things like that. But for today's math, we're just going to go 50-50, okay? So if you need to earn $10,000 to take your family to Disney, okay, then you need to sell sell $20,000. Sell $20,000. Okay. So this is real simple, you guys. The average Mary Kay party nationwide, company-wide, is typically around $400 in sales. You can pretty steadily count on that. Now, I often say, especially when I'm talking to a potential recruit, I see my girls selling way more than $400 per party. Part of that is because they're well trained. They came in knowing how to do parties. We talk party, 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 party. We hold lots of parties. So we perfected the party process, okay? Part of it is that we have large parties. Our guest numbers for our parties are much higher than the typical 4 or 5 guests at a party. We're usually looking at 10 or 12 or 20 at our parties. But for safety's sake, and if you're watching this as a brand new consultant and you're like, well, I have not perfected the party yet, it's going to be best for you to go by the company average of $400 in sales. Every time you hold a party, on average, you could count on $400 in sales. Now, you may have a party sometime that you have $120 in sales, right? And you're like, well, I didn't hit the average. But then the next party you hold is $933 in sales, right? So it all comes out in the wash. So if you need to sell $20,000 to profit $10,000 and you're going to do it by holding parties because you are in best control of that money earned, then you're going to take your $20,000 that you have to sell, okay, and you're going to divide it by $400. And that is going to simply tell you how many parties have to be held for you to hit that $20,000 in retail sales. So we're going to take $20,000 on the calculator, divided by $400, which leaves you with 50 parties needing to be held, okay? So now, if you hear that number and you're like, holy moly, that's overwhelming to me. Holy moly, that's overwhelming to me. 50 parties? I don't even know 50 people. Let's talk about it. Number one, 50 parties. You're not going to get off of here and book 50 parties. You could. That'd be amazing. But parties come from parties. They're like mushrooms. Once one pops up, 2 more come from it, and then 4 more, and then 8 more, and then 16 more. The secret to holding that volume of parties is consistently working it into your schedule, never leaving a party without 2 new bookings, and finding ways to get your books filled up with parties. Okay, so this is not that you're going to get off of here and you have 50 parties to book. You're going to book as many as you can. You're going to fill up your schedule knowing that at each of these parties, my objective is, yes, to sell product, but that's going to happen. My number one goal, though, is to leave there with future bookings. So from each of these parties, I will get 2 parties booked, and eventually that will mushroom out into the 50 that you need to hold. So let's figure out how long it's going to take you to get these parties done, okay? If you have to hold 50 parties is what stands between today and you taking your family to Disney World, okay? Well, hopefully in the last video, you went through and you used this weekly plan sheet to find the open spots. You had, you figured out where you can hold your Mary Kay parties within this schedule. And you know that you have 2 open spots a week that let's say two. If you only have 1 spot a week that you're willing to hold a Mary Kay party, then it's going to take you 50 weeks. But guess what, you guys? That's less than a year. There are 52 weeks in a year. So even if you just do 1 consistently a week, you will still have a Disney trip earned and paid for by your Mary Kay business by the end of the year, okay? But let's say that you determine that you've got 2 spots a week that you can hold your Mary Kay business, that you can hold your Mary Kay parties, sorry. You've got 2 spots a week. Well, if you need 50 parties divided by 2, because you can hold 2 a week, okay? But you will only know that you have time for 2 if you've done this exercise from the past video called Weekly Plan Sheet. So 50 parties divided by 2 a week leaves you with 25 weeks, right? Now, you guys, how many weeks are in a month? 4. So divided by 4, okay? So you're going to take we got a decimal in there, so let me get my calculator. You're going to take your 25 weeks worth of parties, 25 weeks, divided by 4 weeks in a month. Within 6.25 months, so 6.5 months, you could have Disney bought and paid for from your Mary Kay money. At the average sales of $400 per party, working the plan that you already mapped out. Okay. So in the last video, I mentioned mapping your time out and then sitting down with your family to have a discussion about what you envision the perfect balance being. I know on Thursday nights I have that open and we don't have baseball and we don't have gymnastics. And, dad typically has the guys over to play golf in the simulator and you guys are doing your own thing. And I think Thursday nights would be a great night for me to hold a party. And then on Saturday morning, I was thinking, like if I did an 11 o'clock party, I could also still be up cooking breakfast, staying in the PJs, and then I could pop out for an hour and a half, 2.5 at the most, go hold a party and be back by afternoon and we could spend the rest of the day together. How does that feel to you guys? And they're like, yeah. If you then say to them, well, because guess what? I figured out that if I will just commit and consistently work this plan of a party on Thursday night and a party on Saturday, mid-morning, early afternoon, within 6 months, I could have a Disney trip paid for us. I just have to do those 2 time slots. And we would finally be able to go to Disney. We've been talking about this since you guys knew what Disney was, and we've never been able to afford it. If I could do a party every Thursday night, every Saturday morning, 6 months from now, so it's January. So by August, we could have a Disney trip bought and paid for. What do you guys think about that? And they're like, yes, I want to do that. And they are now committed to this schedule with you. And when that first Thursday pops around and they're like, Mommy, I don't want you to leave. You can say, I'm only going to be gone for 2.5 hours. And remember, Mom's working for Disney. Mom is working for Disney. And they're like, okay, yes. I'll be fine, right? Now, here's the other exciting thing that you're not going to tell them because the average is $400 in sales per party. And that's a safe number to bet on, okay? As you get better at holding parties, as you perfect that process, you're going to start to see your averages go through the roof, okay? You may have an average party sale of $800, okay? Typically, I know that my average party is $1,000. So even though we bet on 400 here, you could either dump more money into the Disney trip fund as you earn extra money, or while you're working towards Disney, which is what the kids and your husband care about, maybe you're stockpiling money for something else, for debt payoff, for, you want to surprise your husband with a really nice birthday gift, for that addition that you've been talking about doing for years. Whatever it may be, as your averages get better, you're going to stay committed to the Disney trip. But you're going to take that extra money and you're either going to dump it in and earn Disney faster than you thought, or you're going to open another savings account, which is for a different goal that you have. And you're going to tell your husband, guess what? I've really bumped my averages up. And so I'm right on track to finish up this Disney trip when I told you and the kids that I would. I might be done a little bit early, actually. But in addition to that, I've started this other savings account. And so far, I've got about $8,000 in it. And so what I was thinking we could do with that money, we've been talking about putting that addition on, and I know it's going to be around $40,000 or $50,000 or finishing the basement or whatever it may be. We've been talking about that. And so I just want to let you know I'm stockpiling that money. So when it comes to it, we maybe could get the Disney trip. And then the next thing I could be almost fully funded for finishing up the basement. And before you know it, your husband's like, are you kidding me? You have $8,000 stocked away for this? Do you think that you will have his support with your Mary Kay business when you're able to do that? Because let me tell you guys, this may sound like a dream to you, but it's not. It's a dream that you put pen to paper, came up with an action plan, implemented with their blessing and discussion, open discussion with them, helping you decide, right? And you have been accountable and committed to that plan. It's not a dream. A dream is something you wish for, you think about. A goal is when you take a dream and you put a plan with pen to paper, and you are accountable and committed to the action and the activity. You guys, this could be real conversations that you're having with your family today. Today, you could sit down and have this conversation with your family. Let's pay for Disney. I've been stockpiling money. I've got about $4,000 in this other account that's not like I'm on track to already earn the Disney trip, but I have an extra 4,000 and I don't know what we're going to use that for, but I'd love to finish the basement, or we need new furniture desperately. I've just been stockpiling this money. What do you think? Your husband's going to He's going to say, what can I do? Can I carry your bags to the car to help you get to your party? Do you want me to drive you? You want, I bought you a massage today because I know you've been working so hard. We can actually talk about you quitting your job now. Like, you guys, you are in control of this. You're in control of this money. You're in control of making it happen. It's not a dream. It's not a wish. It's a goal that you're going to be able to implement. Now, let's bump those numbers up a little bit. We're talking about small potatoes here. You got $10,000 that you're working toward to pay for a Disney trip. Let's say that when I first opened this video and I said, maybe you need $50,000 to replace your job, and come home and be a work from home mom. Let's talk about that. So if you needed to make $50,000 to be able to leave your job, you'd have to sell 100,000. Okay. Now to sell 100,000, you would have to, divided by $400. We're going to go back to the beginning. If you want to make $50,000, you have to sell 100,000. If you sell on average $400 per party, let's just do the math. Whoops. 100,000 divided by $400, you'd have to hold 250 parties per year. Okay, 250 parties per year. Now, if you're like, ooh, well, that's a lot. That's a lot of parties, right? 250 parties per year. If you have worked out your plan, if you've worked out your plan here, and let's say you found, again, 2 spots to hold your Mary Kay parties every single week, right? In addition to working full-time, being a part of all your obligations. 250 divided by 2 parties a week is going to take you 125 weeks, so 2 full years beyond, to get that done. What you're going to have to do is start to prioritize. Okay, do I need to be at every basketball practice? I do continue to want to work out 11 hours a week, but maybe I shouldn't be doing that at 5 o'clock in the evening. Maybe that time needs to be spent towards my Mary Kay business so that I can hold 4 parties a week, 5 parties a week. Maybe I need to designate all of Saturday to a 9 a.m. party, an 11:30 party, a 2 p.m. party, and a 5 p.m. party. And I've held 4 parties in a matter of 1 work day. You guys, if your boss came to you this afternoon and said, we're doing layoffs and I am here to tell you you're included in that layoff, I want you to know that I understand how scary that would be. But feet to the fire, if you could commit to the number of parties a week that it would take, let's take that 250 parties divided by 5 parties a week. If you held 5 parties a week, in 50 weeks, you would be earning the same amount that your job was paying you. Now, here's what's on the other side of that. Again, the more you do, the better you become. You will start to perfect that party process, and your averages will be higher than that 400 per party, right? But all along the way, holding 5 parties a week, let me tell you what it's going to do for you outside of just the sales. You're going to rapidly be building a solid team who was recruited from full circle work. They were recruited after attending a party and then hosting their own. Now they've joined and they are party holding consultants. If you are holding 5 parties a week, recruiting 1 person from each, in addition to the parties that you're booking from it, 1 party or 1 new recruit from each party. And when you've got 5, 10, 15 guests at each, if you're recruiting 1 from each of those parties, that's 20 plus personal recruits monthly. You will be in a pink Cadillac within months. And as a pink Cadillac sales director, earning that 50 to 100 or beyond in commissions. Your sales are just cake at that point. They're icing on the cake, right? So That is how you determine how quickly you're going to get that goal completed, whether it's $10,000 to go to Disney or $50,000 a year to replace your income. You are going to take the number that you need, multiply it by 2, divide that by 400 because that's the average party total, and that's going to tell you how many parties you have to hold. And then you're going to take the information that this gave you, and if you know you have pockets in place for 2 parties a week, you're going to take the number of parties that you need divided by 2, and that's going to tell you how many weeks it's going to take you to get it done. Now, if you're like, I actually would like to get it done in half that time, you're going to have to prioritize the schedule and say, I'm not going to give up the gym, but I am going to start doing the gym at 5 a.m. instead of 5 p.m. because I need those evenings to work my parties. I can't be doing that during money-making time. And I'm going to increase the number of times a week I can have a party by doing that. And I'm going to get that Disney trip done in half the time instead of double the time. I hope that this makes sense. Sometimes without plugging in the real numbers to pen and paper or through a screen, it's not always the easiest to translate. But you guys, that is how you are going to take this weekly plan sheet and the information that it gave you from the last video to determine exactly what it is that you want to earn and how many weeks it's going to take you, because you're going to be holding the parties that you need to hold to make these sales and activity happen. All right, you guys, I believe in you. I know anything you set your mind to, commit to, and start working towards is possible. It is well within your reach. And this is what Mary Kay wanted for us, is to give us things, opportunities, experiences that we would never set as a goal. We may dream about them, but we would never set a goal because there's not a way for us to create that extra income. Now you have a way. Now you have a way.